So an art challenge is where you challenge yourself to make a piece of art a day for a particular period of time. Generally, there'll be a prompt or a theme for the artwork that you create. After you create the art, you get to post it either on social media or share it with friends and get feedback from other artists who are also following the same prompt list. I did my first art challenge in 2016, and that was Inktober. And I did it kind of spur of the moment. I had heard about it, and I decided to try it out. I had never really done an ink drawing before. I had no idea there was a prompt list. I just tried to do an ink drawing a day for the entire month of October. And I actually loved it. I loved looking back at all the artwork that I made, and I became really kind of hooked from that moment. Since then, I've tried to do Inktober every year, and I follow the actual prompt list. I also do a special challenge called Mabster Halloween, which I do in tandem with Inktober every October. I also do Mermaid, I have done Junicorn, I've done a special art thing around Frida Kahlo in August, I've done a portrait challenge, I've done a Greek mythology challenge, I've done many different types of challenges. And each of them, I end up with a bunch of artwork that I enjoy and a practice of art making that I really love. When I say a practice of mindfulness, what I'm talking about is the way in which art making can be a kind of active meditation. They did research where they looked at people who made art, and just for 20 minutes of making art, they found that it actually lowers levels of cortisol in your body. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it's something that we all produce, but when we produce too much of it, when we have it in abundance, it can actually be pretty hard on our bodies and on our emotions. So having a practice that actually allows us a break from that can be extremely important in our day-to-day life. Letting go of expectations. So this was one that I didn't really necessarily consider when I first started doing art challenges. And what this involves is sometimes I will look at a prompt list and there will be one day where I'm like, I can't wait for the 5th day of the month because I will be drawing this thing and I'm super excited about it. I know exactly what it's going to be. I know exactly what I'm going to make. Then that day comes and I go to make this piece of art that I've already imagined in my head, and I don't make it exactly the way that I wanted to make it. It falls short of my expectations. I find that there's ways in which when I hold these expectations, these really high expectations for the way that things are supposed to be, I tend to find that I kind of rob myself of any joy. I also don't allow myself places where I can just take risks. I have noticed that sometimes there'll be a list of prompt words and there'll be one word that I have no idea what I'm going to make. And I'm just like, I just want to make this drawing and get on to the next day. And what's been surprising for me are how often those days end up being my favorite days. The one piece that I make that I had not really even considered yet. This way in which I stretch myself and I move myself out of my comfort zone and just allow myself to create something. And it's in those days that I really realize how oftentimes our expectations can really rob us of our ability to enjoy ourselves. Letting go of perfectionism. So this one can kind of be very similar in some ways to letting go of expectations, but it's also kind of different. So when I say this, I must first state that I am a recovering perfectionist. I like for things to be perfect. I like for my art to look the particular way that I want it to look. I have a hard time when I make something that I don't very much like most artists. What I've learned from art challenges is sometimes it's okay to just make a piece of art and make it not wonderful. That's all right. If I try so hard to make every piece perfect, I'm not going to finish the art challenge. Sometimes good enough is good enough. Sometimes my best is just what I had that day, and that's okay. I don't have to make a masterpiece every day, and that's all right. And I also have learned that sometimes when I think I made a mistake or think that something is not great, if I keep working at it, I can actually improve it. Other times I realize that sometimes I don't improve it at all and it's still really ugly at the end, and that's okay too. Sometimes I have to make an ugly piece of art because I learned something important, and that becomes a stepping stone for me learning something and making some other piece of art later on that I actually do really like. So letting go of perfectionism is definitely something that I love about doing art challenges, and how that works in just my life in general, how I don't have to be perfect all the time. And it's okay. I can just do my best. And sometimes my best is amazing, and sometimes my best is just pretty okay, and that's all right. Honing my skills. This one kind of goes without saying. The more we practice something, the better we're going to get at it, right? I think everybody's been told that since the time they were little. And I realized over the last 5 years of art challenges, it's definitely true. I cannot believe how much I've grown over 5 years. And it's not just my art making skills that have grown, it's also my ability to use my creativity. This way in which each night I have to make something using a certain prompt list, it allows me a place to kind of let my creativity explore and move and do new things all the time. And for that reason, I just love art challenges because I feel like I have grown so much. I also love the idea that I can compare myself to this older version of myself before she practiced and see how much I've grown. And I think oftentimes people will compare themselves to others and feel badly about their skills. But there's something really neat about being able to do that with your own past self. The last thing that I want to say about art challenges is how it gives me a sense of accomplishment. There's something amazing about looking at the artwork that I made in a month and just like to sit down and put it on the table in front of me and just kind of like look through all the pieces and see all these things that didn't exist like 31 days before, or 28 days before, or 30 days before. It's kind of wonderful. Whenever I used to do the East Austin studio tour, people would come into my studio and that's always the first thing they would say is, oh my gosh, there's a lot of art in here. And there is a lot of art because I make a lot of art. I'm a pretty prolific artist. And I love that part about being me. I love that I make all of this art and then afterwards I have this incredible catalog of things that I can pull from for other pieces that I make later on. So, I also love that fact that after I make the art, I upload it on the internet or I upload it or I show it to friends and I get a lot of positive feedback. I love that I've become connected to a community of artists who also are doing different kinds of art challenges. It has been a really wonderful experience for me as an artist. It's really easy to get involved with an art challenge. The first thing that you need to do is just check out hashtags. Hashtag art challenge with whatever month you're in and see what might be available, what other artists are doing so you can get connected to a community. As I stated before, Inktober and Mab's Drawloween are two really popular ones that happen in October. There's Mermay in May, there's Junicorn in June. There's generally on Sketchy, they will have 30 and 31 day challenges of drawing faces and portraits, which are really fun. You can also make your own art challenge. You don't have to follow anybody else's art challenge. How would you do that? Well, decide something you want to draw and do a challenge for a month, draw it all out, write it, create hashtags, and see if other artists might want to do it with you. It's a wonderful way to kind of create community, to improve your skills, and to just make art because making art is good.